Well.
We're
How are we doing this morning?
We're live. I am great. It is actually bright Thursday morning, 8 a.m., and we got a special guest with us today. We got Leif Snyder back. We're going to go over some great city council topics. And Leif, how are you doing this morning?
Not bad since I was bumped Tuesday, but that was a good show. So thanks for
apologies,
for moving
Leif. We made a couple adjustments. We know since you're such a good friend of the show, you'd be the most amicable to moving.
And I don't have much else going on.
Well,
that's not why.
It's 8 a.m. It's easy to not have anything going on yet in the day.
That's true.
We'll go with that, right?
We're all morning people, aren't we?
We certainly are. Every one of us. Jonathan, how are you this morning?
I'm doing well.
You are?
I'm doing well.
Are you good? I'm glad we're here. You ready to talk about some city council stuff?
Let's talk about city council stuff.
Before we do, should we talk about what we released on the website last night?
We can.
At least
Kyler's looking for curveballs at 8 a.m.
I think it's just something that we can throw out there to let people know.
Did you varsity in baseball or?
I could kind of throw a knuckleball.
So you didn't even throw curveballs?
No.
So you learned that into your professional career?
You're darn right. It's here now.
Let me see.
So if you're not aware and you didn't check it out on the website last night, mydakotan.com, we did release a pretty neat article. We are talking. It is about a letter that Mr. Charles Hofer from the Dunseith debacle situation, he has sent it to a few individuals that work for the Commerce Department, and it is pending litigation against them. It is not yet, but it is the intent to file litigation starting next week if nothing amicable gets resolved by tomorrow night. So be aware that some big things could be happening in the Dunseith debacle. Some updates there. We'll probably have a video out at some point talking about it a little bit more. Obviously, Beck TV dropped their special on it last night, and first episode there.
Yeah, but let's be clear about what Beck TV dropped. So first off, notice of intended federal litigation. This is a $1.39 billion suit.
Yeah, massive
suit against people that worked for the state of North Dakota.
And that's one thing to really be clear on. It's not the Commerce Department itself, and it's not anything about the state of North Dakota itself. Right. It is the individuals.
There's an identity clause that would allow the state of North Dakota to defend these individuals if the state of North Dakota so chose. Otherwise, the individuals also have the right to defend themselves. It'll be interesting to see how that part plays out, who supports who. I think on Hofer's side, he's kind of hoping that this brings resolution to the whole matter, where everybody's able to move on. And to his credit, because some will say, well, we could have expected something like this. Yeah, perhaps, maybe. But to his credit, he's been very patient throughout it all. He has looked for a lot of alternative paths, and the state of North Dakota has stood in the way. And now they have basically don't even want to talk to him. And so this will force discussion.
Yeah, 100%. Be interesting to see how this continues to play out. Leif, sorry to throw that curveball at you with some.
But I want to. I'm not done with it because you mentioned Beck TV special.
Yes, please go ahead. Comment on that.
And I wanted to break this up to make this separate. Beck TV special is really worth watching, and first off, great for Beck to jump into the story of Dunseith Declassified is what they're calling it. Mm-hmm. But out of their 15-minute special that they did, maybe 3 minutes of it was actually talking about stuff that truly happened in Dunseith.
Yeah.
They focused on the Brejo murder.
Mm-hmm.
And there was a Marcy's Law victim that was involved in that. So that victim's name is Jenny Babcock.
Yep. She came forward in an interview with Beck TV, and she talked about her side of what happened that night a little bit with Brejo, and also speculated on some possible causes of why it happened.
Which is pretty incredible. In my opinion, that's pretty incredible for the ongoing case, where she's going to be a very key person in that case against Brejo.
Undoubtedly.
As being the third person in the room. So that's very interesting. They also took a shot at the Minot Police Department, because why not? If we're going to take shots, let's just
kick them while they're down, right?
Throw things at everybody in Minot. So they talked about how Minot Police Department had done some promo videos, trying to create this seeing that the Minot Police Department was just this loving environment, close-knit team, all this stuff, and then said, but that's not the truth because of this investigation and because of what happened with Chief Klug and all that stuff. And for overall, it wasn't a bad 15 minutes.
No.
But that part right there really frustrated me because it felt like they didn't truly know what had happened at that police department. Mm-hmm. I believe that the police department is still a close-knit community, mm-hmm. and I believe that it is true that if you were there, you would find connection with your fellow officers. Mm-hmm. There was in my opinion, a leadership problem that the city's trying to resolve. And so in their 15-minute segment, they didn't really have time to properly address what was going on there. So it's kind of a hit piece towards them. And that part to me was a little bit unfair. And they're, I don't know, presumably trying to tie the problems that the Minot Police Department had with officers taking their lives and all this stuff to potentially being linked to Dunseith. I don't know.
That's where it feels like
that's
it's
what
going.
It feels like. Yeah.
Like maybe they're not going to take it that route, but I don't know why they'd include it if they're not.
Right.
So if they have some information we don't on that end, I can't wait to see it. But
there's a drug task force that Brejo is a part of, the Ward County Drug Task Force that Brejo is a part of.
And they have also some link in cooperation with the Minot Police Department.
Right. That part does. But other than that, I don't know. So that part was very weird to me. They didn't really touch on anything going on in Dunseith. They mostly just focused on Brejo and the Marcy Law victim, Jenny Babcock. Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to continue watching their end of that, see it all play out. Obviously, we've been following it closely. We'll keep you updated with everything, too. So with that, you want to start jumping into City Council?
All right, let's go.
Should we start at the end first?
Do you have any comments on that?
I know something about.
Oh, let's hear. Yeah.
Well, that's 15 minutes of wow.
Yeah.
Now I'm interested.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's worth checking out, especially just because of how they wanted. They talked a lot about Minot in it, so it's worth checking out. Anyways, I think the best way to start with our city council meeting is to start at the end of it from Monday night. Because we talked a little bit about how there was some more negativity towards Minot Police Department. Let's talk about something great that's going on.
Let's do it.
So on Monday night, Thursday morning, they announced a big joint project that Minot Police Department is co-oping with Minot State University. There's a couple different aspects of it. One really cool one, they're partnering with a state program called Community Builders, which allows the employer of a prospective employee to cover up to half of the tuition costs for that employee, with them to guarantee a certain amount of time to be worked at the employer, so the police department. So that they are asking for a 3-year guarantee contract from these prospective employees, and they will then pay half of their tuition. And also on top of that, there is, requirements for that. They have to meet certain GPAs, but they're going to be targeting, I think, 4 of them. And obviously they'll try to target the best they can get. And it'll be an interesting thing to see how that starts off. And then they have a couple other things too. They have a community service officer, which is a CSO role that they're trying to open up, and they've been working on that for a while. That is, it's a position that adds a civilian in to help with a lot of the non-law enforcement aspects of policing the community. So road traffic, funeral processions, investigating traffic accidents. A really cool concept, frankly. I think that's something that could go pretty far.
I love the idea.
Yeah.
Just to add a little bit, the other thing out of this was Minot State is now accredited. They're going to have a 2-year law enforcement
They will.
program.
Yep, that was a big announcement.
Which they didn't have before.
No, they had just criminal justice degrees, full 4-year programs. Now they will offer that 2-year program as well. So that's going to be a huge addition. Hopefully that can be something that really helps get a lot of Minot's police department back and forced through the ranks, because they're still down, around 15 officers. So it would be great to see those ranks swell, and not just, and especially so because it's coming from the city of Minot itself. And
yeah.
I think that's a really cool thing they're doing there. Obviously, they're looking at juniors and seniors with that community builders thing, the people that are in those criminal justice programs now. But after a little while, like Leif was saying, they'll start incorporating that 2-year program into it as well. So can't wait for that.
Right, yeah. It can be very powerful for the police department. That's kind of something that we've been advocating for. Start recruiting locally. In a general way, we've been We've been preaching that, so that's good to see that happening. I believe this is a program that was in place in the past, so it's coming back. So that's probably a good thing as well.
Yeah, it has a couple little tweaks from what it used to be, but yeah, no, it's been something that has been done in the past. So that's even better. There has some precedent.
Now do the same for the base.
Right, it's time to get a transition program from the Air Force Base people that are newly out of the Air Force into the police department.
Right,
I think that'd be a great thing to do.
I agree.
Leif, any other before we get rolling into the?
I was the victim of the previous program. Anybody who drove and parked illegally down at Central Campus got their tires chalked. Yes. So you were parking patrol, stuff like that was part of it.
Part of that original. That's
the only downfall I see to this, talking a little bit earlier, might be people, like the plan is to have or provide them with a vehicle that might not, it'll look somewhat like a police car, but it won't be.
Yeah, it won't have.
That's a good time.
You know,
yeah,
so there might be some confusion there, but we'll just have to. They're going to have different uniforms.
Yep, completely. It'll be all like an all gray get up.
The idea, get away from mistaking them for a police officer.
Yeah,
because they don't have the authority that a sworn law enforcement officer will have.
They won't be able to enforce the law. They will be able to do administrative tasks. Parking patrol kind of things, maybe not even that, but they'll be able to do like lead funeral processions, direct traffic, different things like that.
And actually participate in investigations where you don't need.
Yeah, they can collect evidence and different things like that.
Basically, almost like an intern position.
Effectively. Yeah. It'll be transitionary role for a lot of those students that are in the new program, and it'll also be something that I believe the way it sounded will be opened up to the public as well. So
there you go, Leif.
Look forward to Leif, you're going to... I won't stop. Go ahead.
Could you see me directing traffic? I mean, how's that going to work?
Be perfect,
I mean, we might be able to see you, but...
Are you sure you're in the middle? Sorry.
Probably wouldn't be the best idea.
But I think great thing for the police department, really fun outlook for them. So... Again, I think with everything we've seen over the last few months, I think things are really starting to look up, especially in the next year when we really get that full-time chief in place. Yeah. I think Chief Pless has done great so far. I think these are some great things. But
City Council would agree.
Exactly. And I can't wait for that next phase to really take place. And I already love seeing the upward trajectory that we have.
Absolutely. So we started at the end of the City Council. Does that mean that there's a lot of bad stuff, or...
I just wanted to start there because we were talking about the police department.
Okay.
And this was a really
positive.
Go with some negative at the start and turn it into a positive.
That's fair.
Do you want to go in reverse order, or should we start at the beginning?
Yeah, let's start at the beginning.
Okay, fair. Leif, any big takeaways before we jump into it?
The joys of pavement.
That was one of the biggest parts of it, for a fact.
You know what? I really think we should have a local contractor on, either from Keller or Bechtold or Minot Paving or another local paving company, to kind of really get an outside perspective on this, because this is not the first time it's come up. And I don't, perhaps Lance Meyer has the right plan in place for this stuff, but it would be interesting to get words of a professional and hear in the paving. I understand Lance Meyer's also a professional. I'm not trying to demean him.
Try to get a perspective from the other side of the profession.
Yeah.
The service end of it, and see what their aspect of it's like. Because I think it was really when Alderman Blessum and Lance Meyer were having a discussion, they kind of brought up how this is almost like the Minot engineers are the ones that determine the problem and the solution needed, and then they go and find someone to service that problem in the paving companies.
But I'll tell you this: businesses work best. I understand the city's not a business, but businesses work best when they bring in a professional to help them understand their problem,
100%,
and to provide a solution. So, for instance, if you have an accounting problem and you say, well, this is the problem with my accounting, and then you go talk to your accountant, like, yeah, we see that problem, but actually, as you look into it, you have a larger problem here, because they're a professional and they're in it every day, and you can be business minded, you can be money minded, you can have all, but you're not directly working in that. I mean, the city engineer, they're working across so many different things. They're presenting on a bridge and they're presenting on pavement, like two completely different things, you know.
Yeah, but they are still wholly invested in knowledgeable of.
They're knowledgeable, but they're not specialized in pavement.
That's not their specialty by any stretch, nor bridges.
Yeah.
Like he is a city engineer, so he is knowledgeable in all of this.
Yes.
But it's not something that he is a specialty in, as far as I know, at least.
Right. Yeah. So it'd be interesting to bring in
even an architect to talk about a possible future bridge design that Minot could see.
But for our podcast, it'd be interesting to bring in a local contractor, and just to get that perspective from somebody specialized.
Okay, can we back up a second? This came from, there were 2 bids awarded for
this is a problem.
Of different, and we're talking asphalt here.
Yeah, these were consent items that Alderman Fuller had pulled to have a separate discussion.
And basically what we're talking about is what they call micro resurfacing.
Break it down.
Chip surfacing,
chip surfacing
sealing.
or seal. That's the nasty tar and the pebble rock, right?
Yep.
And then lift and overlay, which is grinding the top and then putting a thin layer of asphalt back over it, which would be great.
Which is the best way, right?
Yeah.
But it's the most expensive way.
Yes, and I'm trying to think what the ratios were.
I have it here. Hold on. I actually did something with my note taking. Let me find it, because it is the chip sealing is the cheapest and it's the most classic way. Micro surfacing is kind of that newer alternative, but it costs a little more. And then, of course, that mill overlay is the most. But it looks roughly like, for the chip seal, it's about $8 per square yard. Micro surfacing is around $15 a square yard. And then the number they used for the mill overlay was about $40 a yard, a square yard.
No, that's kind of, with the way Lance was talking, that's industry standards, kind of just general numbers. So Councilman Fuller's point was, well, let's put the bid out for all of them and see what they come back with.
Yeah,
which I don't have a problem with, because it's not easy to be in council and have to worry about taxing people. You have to be fiscally responsible, so you put your bids out and you have to go with your bids. But if we can get that kind of work done for the same price, I understand that. And now, if I wanted a house built, and I say, hey, I want this 4-bedroom house built, but the builder comes to me and says, well, I only build brick houses.
Right.
So there's that.
Well, we ran into that part with the trucks when the city was looking to get trucks, and they're like, Wesley submitted a bid and it was $10,000 more or something like that. We're like, okay, well, let's look at the bid. And then you start looking at what they're giving us, like, this isn't what we asked for, though.
Match the specs.
The specs don't match, so we can't consider this bid.
So my point there is, apparently there are no local contractors who do micro resurfacing.
Yeah, right. But the point of the local contractors were, it's not a good thing, so we don't do it.
Right.
That and that was,
I don't know if it's not profitable to them, or it's not worth the time.
No, but the way that Alderman Fuller made it sound is they didn't feel like it was a quality solution.
Okay, fair.
On council, that was my take of what Fuller was saying.
I think that's reasonable too.
But Lance Meyer was saying, no, this is something that the whole state is adapting, is what his argument was. But they had a nice back and forth, so it'd be interesting just to go to Keller Paving or go to Bechtold or Minot Paving or somebody else.
Well, let's keep in mind, Councilman Fuller just didn't take the opinion of the contractors. He actually pulled a study from the North Dakota DOT, but it was 2007.
Okay, so it's an older one.
Technology. I mean, he came prepared. I got to give him credit.
Right, yeah. I mean, and Lance Meyer said that he was open to a contractor giving another bid too, if it was done the next day.
That was the thing, and I think it's completely
no,
fair.
That was not the thing. I didn't feel like that was a sincere openness.
Not in that there was some sarcasm in the specificness of it, but I think in the general attitude of it, he would be amicable to getting all bids placed. Having every aspect, I think that was where he was amicable to, and having a process where everyone can submit a bid on however they want to do it, but then they're still going to go with the cheapest and most, what is it?
But then you look at the cheapest because when you're looking at driving the same road and every year you have to fix it, it really doesn't feel like it's the cheapest solution anymore.
At what point do you have to flip that table and actually?
And it might even be that we should consider it based off roadways. So if you and maybe they do, but if you have a pothole on 4th Avenue or on Burdick for a while had tons of potholes, right? If you have bad road in busy sections, maybe we should look at a more
do the overlay process to it.
A bigger process. Whereas if it's on a
residential street
that doesn't get traveled much or gets traveled enough, but it's not Burdick, then you could go and look at a more just,
either the microsurface or that
chip and seal.
Yeah. I think that would, and maybe they do. I'm not 100%
Who knows?
certain on the
Yeah,
specifics.
we'd have to
but
talk with Lance Meyer on that one.
I think that's
Cobblestone. Let's just go
Cobblestone.
out cobble.
Hey,
There
you
we
know,
go.
it still works in England.
Concrete. Everything just concrete.
Yeah. Right. Yeah, that
road.
works places too.
Make the roads Roman again.
Yeah.
But no, I think that was because there were a couple of them that they talked about with that. I think it was a good thing to pull from the consent items
Yeah.
to at least get a discussion happening on it, because
Gotta love it.
they still passed. They're still going to go with the bids, at least at this point. And the next
Yeah,
week might be a
but that
different
was
call.
not a cut and dry thing, because honestly, that discussion could have led to them saying, no, we won't accept these bids. We want more.
It had the potential to, by all
Yeah.
means, but it was still a 6-1 vote in the end in
Yeah.
favor of both of them. With
Right.
obviously Alderman Fuller was the dissenting vote in that one. And it was a neat conversation they had. I think it went well with all of them, and kind of transitioned later on. And we can talk about. I think since we're on construction, let's move on to the 3rd Street Bridge aspect of it. So a little bit later, one of the agenda items they talked about was the fixing of the 3rd Street Bridge, because they've done inspections on it. Obviously,
The picture they showed
that was scary.
made you not want to drive on that bridge.
We don't.
That's
it's
why I don't.
safe, but
No,
Yeah, that's why you
Well,
don't. You
that's
just walk.
I do walk on that side of the bridge, so
Well,
maybe that
when
side will fare better than I don't know.
I don't know.
So the way it works is there are these big concrete pillars and piers that hold up the bridge, and because of how they're positioned and a lot of the way with weather and melting snow, everything, how it just sheer over time reduction of it, it's been getting degraded away, and the concrete's been falling, and that's a normal thing. So normally they can go in and patch it, and it's fine. However, it's kind of eroded to that's what I was looking for, to a degree that it's starting when the water and the salt water right now especially melts off the bridge, it's coming down onto.
I thought we didn't use salt in our snow removal.
We do at least for a point in the year.
It's a salt sand mix.
Because
It's destroying my car.
you're darn right. All that rust is from that. But it's starting to leak down past where that concrete's eroded, and it's getting into the coupling system of the bridge. So where the steel girders of the bridge come with the bridge itself, there's almost like
Yep.
a plate that allows the bridge for movement. That's a natural thing. A structure that big has to be able to maneuver itself at least.
Don't think about it, folks.
Exactly.
Yeah, it's referred to as a bearing.
A bearing, that was the word I was looking for, yes. And that's starting to erode itself now. And they showed pictures of that, and it was very rusty.
Yeah, but it was very eroded.
It was.
It wasn't just the rust that got me. Rust happens. It was very eroded.
It was, and because he was even mentioning how other ones for being 80 years old are in relatively good shape, and even for 80 years, and then you compare it to that one, which even for where you would want it to be at 80 years, it's worse than that.
Yeah.
And so what it sounds like is going to happen is they're going to go in next summer and fix that pier itself and rechange that girder. And then
Yay,
yeah.
construction on 3rd Street.
I know, yeah. 3rd Street Bridge is going to be closed for another 6 to 8 weeks next summer. Be prepared, folks.
That's brutal. That road's so busy
It
during
is.
summer.
That's one of the biggest north-south byways in town. The biggest thing that I'm looking forward to with it is what this leads to in the next year or two with getting a bid and an architect design for a new bridge. That'll be an interesting concept. See what that starts to turn itself into.
Now, which plan? They went with the one where southbound traffic will still be open, though, right?
Yeah,
That's right.
So
That's
One-
true.
northbound
you're
will
right.
be closed.
Yeah, that's true.
So I'm hoping that
it's
sidewalk's
gonna-
still open so I can walk.
I bet that's the plan. Try
I
to
hope
keep
so.
that. Yeah, that
We can hope.
pedestrian way open at least. And
If not, show up at public appearances.
yeah, go ahead, Leif. Start yelling. Be fun.
We've had some good ones recently.
Yeah, we have.
Well,
yeah. 2 weeks ago was really fun. This week was
Okay, I thought you were
Echo
referring to
and-
my public
well.
appearances.
You have
Okay.
had some fun ones. We can if we want to go into the history
and-
books. But
Okay, so that's where we're going with public appearances right now?
I mean, we're kind of all over the place. We didn't start the beginning. We started at the end.
Okay.
We went to the beginning. Now we're shotgunning it.
yeah, so if you
First of all, I have to say anybody who wants to speak at the podium to city council should. I'm not trying to demean any
we
of that.
encourage it. In fact, you should.
Yeah, Leif,
Yes.
we encourage it.
You absolutely should.
There's a butt coming.
And of course, this is in reference to, there have been some interesting ones.
It's been good.
My hat's off to the Gerhardt family.
Mm-hmm.
That is a good citizen. That, well, both of them, actually, the whole family. But to have that kind of patience and then to bring that forward out of concern for others, those are the kind of people I want to see live in Minot. That's some good stuff because his patience is off the charts. I wish I had that kind of patience. From the times I spoke at city council, you realize I don't have that kind of patience. Now, having said that, I'm going to talk about Hatman.
Or
Mr. Stewart.
The lone public appearance from last night, or from Monday night.
Yep.
I don't appreciate citizens going and speaking of other citizens in a demeaning way, referring to the gentleman earlier, like that Gerhardt's talked about. Stewart was referring to him as feet man. I think 10 times he referenced him with that. Now, I do, come on. We're talking about someone who has got some developmental issues. We can do better than that.
And it's already a clearly established issue at this point.
No.
It's
Credit to Hatman. He can go to the podium and talk. But who is he?
Enlighten us, Leif.
Okay. He's not just nobody. He testifies written testimony and in person down at the Bismarck Legislature. He is on the District 5 Republican Executive Committee. Now, where I really had a problem watching the video last night, because it was pointed out to me by someone, they said, yeah, look, he was sitting where you usually sit, which I wasn't at the meeting, obviously.
He's right up front.
And he sat down after he got done talking, which it was clear he didn't totally understand the law, which is fine. He asked questions.
He had a good back and forth with the city attorney.
There was dialogue back and forth. But then after he got done, he sat down next to Travis Zablotny, who was also on the District 5 Executive Committee. And they were fist pumping each other as if they accomplished something like, you guys do better. Come on.
That was, I didn't pay, I guess, close attention to see where he sat down at. But, he had some very interesting comments.
Now, I have to give credit to Plessis. He was clear and concise about what he can and cannot do, the city attorney as well. Yep. And if anybody has any questions, refer back to the episode that you guys had Mr. Scott Burlingame on. Yep. That was a wonderful episode where he was an expert in his field.
And he did
a great job of explaining what's going on there as best he could without revealing too much information.
Exactly. Yep. He did an impeccable job coming on and really overlaying the other side of this, of where the advocate side comes into it to play. And since there is likely a party coming in to oversee his guardianship status, that should allow the proceedings to really take forward at this point. And hopefully within a few weeks, something can really be resolved and he can be in a better situation for himself. And we don't have to have this take up city council public appearances anymore.
Yeah, because, this is a concerning issue for all involved.
Undoubtedly so.
Yep.
With that, let's go to a quick 60-second break. Well, maybe.
The ad's not working.
Our software didn't like us. Now let's try it.
In the demanding world of oil and gas, precision, safety, and efficiency are non-negotiable. Unmanned operator drone services revolutionizes how you monitor, inspect, and manage your operations. With cutting-edge technology and expert operators, we deliver real-time data, detailed reports, and actionable insights for our valuable clients. Why risk the safety of your team or waste precious time? Our drones access even the most challenging areas with ease, reducing downtime and enhancing safety across your sites. We take the guesswork out of your projects by offering LiDAR, mapping, and inspection services so that your projects stay safe, on budget, and on time. Unmanned operator drone services, where technology meets safety, precision, and efficiency. Contact us today to elevate your operations. Yes.
Ta-da.
Ta-da, we're back. Just like that.
Just.
Kyler got a little more orange, so.
Oops. I did it
Whoops.
again.
Yeah, stop using spray tan, bro.
I know.
I've
Gosh,
told you.
I'm the one.
You have to glare off my head. 'Cause
Fair.
If it didn't happen every other time I was sitting here, I would say maybe. But it is what it is at this point. A couple other things. Let's talk about City Council. We've been a little all over the place with it. So just to kind of overview was it went from obviously the city manager report and the mayor's report at the start. Went to a conversation that they had with Shane Gettle, the attorney that represents the city down at the state for the legislative session. They talked about a lot of bills that were affecting the city, whether it be 1020, the flood bill, which we talked about with Scott Lauser on Tuesday here.
Yep. Great discussion with Scott.
It had some really, really good stuff with that. They talked a lot about the numbers there. So if you're interested in seeing where a lot of the numbers break down at and how it goes into NAS and flood control, you can really go and listen to Shane Gettle. He did a great job breaking that down. Talked about a couple other bills, energy impact grant fund, the state fair funding. Looks like they're going to probably get the money for that new big bathroom that they wanted. Then after that's when it moved into the street seal discussions, and then it went into the main agenda items, and we talked about the 3rd Street Bridge, just one of them. But before we went into the main agenda items, Dave Lakefield came up, and he had a little presentation about the start of the finance and the budget process.
Let's go, Dave.
Heck yeah, the legend himself, and a couple things.
Hey, we get to have him on.
Really?
Yeah.
When's he coming?
Date's not firmed up, but
it's
he said that you'd come on, talk budget.
That's awesome. He's going to run circles around me. So a couple fun things that he was talking about. So from where we projected, because at the end they increased the spending goals a little bit throughout the budget process. However, spending for Minot was down almost $6 million, or was almost $6 million under budget. So didn't spend almost.
So we have $6 million we get to spend. What are we gonna buy?
But there's a but here. Revenues, the expected revenues, were also down about $1.25 million. So really, we have $5.5 million that we can do whatever we want with.
Okay,
But no, I
got some ideas.
Let's hear them. What do you got? What do you want? First thing.
Well, I mean, first thing would be property tax buy down.
There you go. Okay.
Second thing would be probably better idea somehow supporting the police department with it.
Fair.
I think, and then
Use that for
maybe my third idea on the spot would be better finishes on roads.
There you go. I love it. But
That third one isn't really a true one.
no,
That one I'm just
throw it out there.
being ornery. First two are more accurate.
100%. And it'll be interesting to see how it plays. But I think the real big takeaway from this is, guess what, fellas? Budget season's officially back.
Yeah.
It just ended.
The other thing we could do is look for some property to buy.
Heck yeah.
I mean, there's got to be something that's
It's got to be out there, right? And
Kyler, your mic volume. What's up with it?
can they not hear me? Am I too quiet or am I loud? I'm yelling at you now. I'm right into it. I'm sorry if you can't hear me. I'm getting you now. Uh-oh.
Yeah. Okay. But anyways,
Uh-oh.
keep going.
Anyways, yeah, we were talking about the finance report, so we're going to move on. I guess, do you guys have any other any budget takes?
What should we do with the extra $5.5 million?
Do you have a...
Whenever it comes to the finance part of the meetings, I have a hard time staying awake. Like, maybe it'd be different if I had money. I'd be more interested in it. But I don't know how Dave, I don't know how, my hat's off to him.
You have to be a specific kind of person.
I don't understand how you can get excited about that stuff.
Yeah.
The budget process. But the budget tours, when I did run for council, that's interesting stuff. But that's not.
That's the overview.
Sitting there going over this column versus that column.
And actually making the spreadsheets. That's
not
the tough
fun.
one. But that's the thing. You need a person like that to do these things. They have to be the one to lead those conversations and put forward a lot of that effort. And that's because it is such a monotonous task. It is gross. I don't like that kind of stuff. But that's why I love that we have someone like that doing it.
This is true.
Fun times, budget process.
Yeah.
I hope they can hear me now. Anyways, moving on to after the budget process.
I hope they can.
Yeah, right. One of the other big things, I think we've discussed most of it. Other big agenda item they had was the phase 1 of the new approval for ADA compliance with the Minot City bus service. And because Minot is now designated as a urban area, we have new protocols we have to follow with our public transportation system. So the one big thing they were talking about is with every person that would be eligible to be ADA compliant in this situation, and they have to be judged from a person that would be now hired as the mobility manager for the city of Minot.
It's a full-time employee that's required to be on staff.
Yeah.
Like, say, for instance, me with my visual impairment.
Yes.
Someone would have to say, do I qualify or not as an ADA rider?
Yeah. And the example that they gave last night that I thought was really good would be someone that might be wheelchair bound, that obviously all city buses are able to facilitate them, and that there's no issue with that. However, a lot of times it's getting to the bus route itself. So if it's a person like that and they don't have maybe a sidewalk outside their house, like maybe they live in a trailer court or something, what this does is it couples a process to get them to the bus stop and then from the bus stop back home. And typically that's something that SerSpace and public transport does in town now, just regardless. But the way it sounds is that this will be a pairing system for them to almost transit the people to the bus stop rather than just transport them themselves.
Yeah.
Which I thought was a little redundant, but at the same time, I like that they're trying to accommodate a little extra need for the people, but it feels like it could just be something public transport does itself rather than having to bring them to the city bus at that point.
It seems like right now, Cirrus kind of provides that stopgap for us.
Yeah, which they're effectively doing already.
Yep. It just, now that it's going to be required to be under our umbrella. And the important thing to remember is it's an 80-20 split with federal dollars. So it's not like we're hiring a full-time employee.
We see how that works.
Yeah.
Well, there can be some hiccups with it, that's for sure.
Was it Alderman Fuller or Blessum? One of them were mentioning how, hey, when are we going to have to actually start footing the bill for this? Because how often does it last for eternity kind of thing?
Yeah. Interesting stuff.
It was. That kind of wraps up the city council meeting. I think the only other thing, there was a little ISO report about the fire department in town. They too need more firefighters. So if you want to fight fires, folks, go apply, take the test, have a good time. They need them.
So what was our ISO rating?
Gosh, what was it? 80.2, and it was down from like 82.7.
Like we went from a
82 to an 80.
And a 1 is better, right?
It was.
I can't remember.
I don't remember the grading
not
scale
perfect,
itself,
but we're pretty good.
It's very good. Yes, it is. It is not great because we are understaffed and there's some utilizations that they kind of wanted to have a little better. But generally,
and we need some backup equipment. I guess.
And there was some. We got a good fire department for the low staff we have. That's about the final wrap up I have. Any last takeaways from the city council, Leif?
No, it was longer than I thought it was going to be, but the advantages of watching it online, you can fast forward right through stuff, right?
Play it at one
and
point.
It's all time stamped.
Yeah, I play it at 1 1/4 speed, so make sure that 3 hours turns.
That's why Dave Lakefield talks so fast.
Exactly. No.
When his IT stuff is working.
Yeah.
That's it. No,
I get to fast forward through all that. Yeah. Poor guy.
Oh,
so I heard that crossover is coming to an end and that legislature is going to be back in session.
Yeah, there's already been committee meetings even. Yeah, they started yesterday, I think, and a lot more today. There's a couple.
Leif, what's the big topic?
Well, okay, we're at crossover, which, well, actually, Scott Lauser summed it up pretty good. It's not really the halfway point, if
right.
We're breaking into thirds, because now the House here's Senate bills, vice versa. Mm-hmm. It's going to get interesting because you've got property tax bills, and you have conference committee if they pass, and then they mash them together. So when you take those 3 bills, 4 bills, whatever it's going to be, is it going to be good or not? That's the real question.
Is there any bill currently that's good for property tax?
I don't like any of them, to be honest. But if they mash them together right, it might be pretty good.
It might be all right.
And I feel like that's what a lot of people are kind of expecting to come from this second half is some conglomeration of the 3 bills to be put together, whether it be a combination of all 3 or 2 of them getting mashed together. And it's really how they make that work that'll be the big question.
Thankfully, it's not 20.
Yeah. They
That
narrowed
was
it
the
down
fear.
from the 50 to at least about 3 they have. So that's the best scenario they could have got from it.
That was definitely the fear that was going into session, that we were going to have a ton of property tax bills. But I still, oh man, they're not good.
No.
Honestly. And I ended up not being, by the end of it, not that much of a fan of Measure 4. But right now I'm just like, take me back to Measure 4.
Yeah.
Turn it around.
And here's the thing, if they don't mash them together right and come up with something, we're right back there.
Yeah. That's the thing.
And they say, you know, Representative Lauser mentioned it and others have mentioned it. Like, the problem with that bill is there's just no plan. It's like, okay. But I think I agree that it's better without a plan, because look at term limits. People don't like it.
Yeah.
So if there would have been something passed that said they're, I don't know, giving some room for the legislature to make more deal. Now, probably in that specific scenario, legislature probably couldn't be trusted with it. Let's be fair. But when you go and make a concrete plan with property taxes, that'd be messy.
It has the potential to.
No,
and if
It doesn't just have the potential to. It would be like there's no way around it, because if you want to make an adjustment to it, you have to go back to get it's a constitutional amendment at this point. You have to go back to the people to make an adjustment. That was
going to be my thing. It was going to be, you have to find a way to get it around so it's maybe not a full constitutional amendment at that point. So you would have the ability to go in and rework some things if you had to.
Yeah.
I just don't know how you'd be able to do that at that point.
To have, because they wanted the constitutional amendment part, because that's the only thing that carries weight.
Exactly. Because otherwise,
So in theory, okay, you mentioned like term limits. If we wanted to, couldn't we have a ballot initiative where we say, hey, instead of a 2 terms, let's go to 3?
Well, they're
I
doing
think
it.
that'd be better.
They're doing a constitutional amendment, right?
it's legislative.
What if we change the threshold to 60%, like they're talking about?
Right.
That's what I don't like about
That'd
that
be terrible.
60% threshold.
That'd be
'Cause
terrible,
now
man.
it'd be horrible to try and get to that
all
point.
bad. It's all bad.
Now, with Measure 4 and the lack of a plan, the part I didn't like about it was, okay, the city of Minot, your budget was this is what you taxed, so this is what you're going to get out of the state coffers. It's going to be, this amount X. Well, that effectively is a cap of nothing. So now you're stuck with that.
Yeah.
There was no plan for the increase. That was my hang up.
Right.
My real big hang up with Measure 4.
Yeah. It had its weaknesses, and then it's a whole conversation. It's a good time.
If they could have worked it in with a loose plan, but in the amendment, it's in the ballot initiative itself, it leaves room open for legislative to figure it out in the next session. I think that's your best bet. Like, you come in with a plan, but also leave room in that initiative to allow the legislature to work on it in that next cycle. And if they can't, you either go with the plan as decided in the vote, or they get one session to do a little minor adjusting to it, and then it goes from there. I think that's...
So it's something like, this is the plan, or whatever is decided before then, whichever comes first.
This is the baseline for a plan. These are the starting points for a plan. You can go with this as the plan, but you can also build off of this. And maybe
So,
that's not the right move.
but then it's still not a plan, because if it needs built on, if you leave room to build on, then it needs built on.
That's fair.
But this is, in my opinion, because property taxes is so complex.
Yeah.
Or taxing is so complex. It's not
There's
just
so
property
many
taxes.
aspects of it,
So
right.
if you're going to have a partial plan, then it doesn't work.
Yeah, that's fair. It's not completed.
And so they tried to kind of do that with stuff that they could build on. Said, no, you have to, you can't go and tax based off the current way that it's done, the appraised value or the assessed value. You can't do taxes that way. They went and they tried to do the semi base of the plan, and people said, you don't have a plan to pay for it.
Sure. That's reasonable.
And so
that's a fair point.
then the people that say, well, you don't have a plan to pay for it are like, we have a plan for ours, though. We're going to just take it from the legacy fund. And they're like, that's what we were basically telling you guys to do.
Yeah.
I don't know.
It's just a cyclical thing at that point.
And I say this, honestly, by the end, we can go back to the podcast where we talked about it. By the end of it, I was like, I don't know about Measure 4.
For sure.
I was not all about it.
For sure.
But what they come out with is worse, in my opinion.
No, it's not. Again, of the three, I would have preferred Lausers, I think, just because of how it attacks the K through 12 aspect of it. But, I mean, obviously, we've talked up and down about 1176 and, 1535.
Trash.
Yeah.
No, I'm kidding. It's not trash.
That's why I gave you the can, man.
Yeah, it's still here.
If it had the potential to, if 1176 is passed alone, it might be trash. Especially now that it's something that has to be.
Oh yeah,
determined every
because the property tax
legislative
isn't even going to go away, and people are going to think that it will, and then it never will.
Because they have to work on it every cycle at that point.
Honestly, I've said that perhaps this was something that Armstrong was trying to do, so that way he had like this capstone, and someone's like, he doesn't need a capstone. Like, fair, but it's like this like plaque that he can put on his wall. I saw property tax my first term as governor, but really, if it got passed as is right now, it'd become the stain.
Yeah.
It'd become this stain on his record that I tried to pass property tax and it never even got to the point where people didn't have to pay for the property tax. And it only lasted 2 years.
And then it got switched up again. So by the time re-election rolls around, it's already on to something else.
Right.
Yeah.
It's going to be crazy. And the way that it'll work is, I guess, like 1% of North Dakota will get their property taxes paid for them. If you own a home and it depends on your taxing authorities, but $100,000 or less, and you have a chance to have your property tax paid for them.
Yeah, that would be the best.
And it's your primary residence.
Yeah, the best population that would have the best chance of it.
Yeah, because the way that applies is just so dumb. Where it's just, here's $1,450. I've said it a million times, but $6,000 in property taxes, $1,450. $1,500, $1,450.
Yeah.
$1,000, okay, well, $1,000. We won't give you a check back.
Yeah,
but.
we're not going to get. You just don't get to this year. Congratulations, you're a winner.
Yeah. So
no, it's going to be the big thing. It's been the big thing. Obviously, there's been a lot of those pop-up things and whether the hot topic issues, culture things, but this has been the big thing coming into the legislative cycle. It is the big thing going into crossover, and it is the big thing going into the second half. And
do you think that's why there was so many strong culture bills this time? Is because they knew that property tax was going to be the main topic?
I don't know if I'll say that for a fact. I think it could be. Maybe a couple people could have thrown something in there just because they don't want property taxes to be the main focal point.
No, I'm saying the other way, that they didn't think that their stuff would become the main focal point.
Oh, that's okay. That's fair. That could be. That I would say that's more likely than what I was thinking there at the first part. They might have just tried to get this in because the discussion was going to be so heavily on property taxes and other things of that nature that they thought they might be able to get this one in under the radar when it actually ended up blowing up.
What do you think, Leif?
I think the culture war stuff would have existed no matter what. People are so divided with politics now that nothing would have stopped that. So those people are gonna, and I agree with the rule. I like the fact that committees cannot kill bills. Every bill gets a vote and is heard. But that's how politics is. People have their pet projects, and some of them are in power to do what they want to do. Okay, let's vote them out then.
Yeah, that's
the
way to look at it.
There's a new nonprofit coming. Leif's starting it. And it's called Let's Vote 'Em Out.
Well, I'm asked all the time, well, how do we fix this? How do we fix that? And like, stop talking about crap.
Yeah,
like
you're not wrong.
That's right.
Like
last time you came on this podcast, you used words stronger than that. I tell you what, we've had on Thursday mornings, the last 2 weeks, we've had somebody slip up and use a word that was just not safe for anybody. I tell you what, Leif, and you're one of them.
Yeah, it was Leif, and then it was Ole Larson last week.
Yeah, this is why you were bummed.
We got to keep the Thursday morning thing rolling at this point.
I got to give Ole Larson credit. Okay, District 3 guy, right?
Yeah.
I wasn't a big fan all the time, but holy cow, when it comes down to, because was he a sponsor? I can't remember when it came to the intermodal thing.
Yeah, he was very involved.
And then he realized what I was trying to tell people.
Gotcha.
It's the bank trying to get their money back out of making a bad loan, and it was about $18 million. And I'm watching that going, hey, Ole.
Yeah.
I agree with you.
Yeah.
That was also the same thing. Last week, if you missed our shows last week, we had a couple of fantastic interviews. Scott Burlingame and Ole Larson. They did a great job on
and
both
guess what?
shows.
We've had a good show this week, too. We had Scott Lauser and Dustin Gowro. And then today we had a great show with Leif Snyder. And next Thursday, we're going to keep the ball rolling, and we're going to have a roundtable discussion with
Unfiltered
Alderman Rob Fuller and Zach Ragnar.
Ooh, District 5 Dem NPL chair, Zach Ragnar.
It's going to be intense.
It's going to be a
so the way that
fun
works,
back and forth.
5 minute, we'll have a topic list. Who knows how long it'll be? 6 to 10 topics, 5 minutes on each topic. Each person will have the chance to hit a 2.5 minute overtime. We did it with Leif Snyder and Rob Fuller. It was a good time. You enjoy it?
Yeah, but you brought up the fact that I got a potty mouth, I guess.
Well, it was the passionate part of it. That was the fun
I loved
thing.
it. And then I loved how you doubled down on it. You doubled down on it because on social media you shared it. And
Well,
you're like,
yeah, I'm not-
and you're like, see,
If I make a
I said
mistake,
this
I'm gonna
first.
share it. I
No,
don't
I said
care.
this first because somebody
Oh,
else.
yeah.
You
Yeah.
doubled down.
Well, that's what I mean. We are so...
I mean, it starts at the national level with that division.
I really respect Rob because we can have a conversation about it. Like, and with you guys, you can have a conversation about it. But this is the point. Okay, we haven't talked about it, but let's talk about the joint session speech. It's not a State of the Union address because you don't do it at the beginning of your term. Were there lies in that speech?
I don't know. I know that there was signs that said that.
Okay, yeah, which I think is ridiculous. Like, are we 12? Like, what are we doing?
The RE 12 is the...
Okay. Now he's talking about what, the success of Doge and this stuff about eliminating this stuff. Okay, he talks about spending $8 million on making mice transgender. It's a flat out lie. It's a load of crap. It was referring to a study, I believe it's Cincinnati. This is where I went last night after watching the whole thing. I think it's the University of Cincinnati.
Okay.
And it was transgenic mice, where they were taking mice and implanting human cells and studying the effects of medications or whatever. They're using mice to trick them into being humans instead of testing human subjects.
Well, I have a question for you. This isn't going to really drive with your point, but how come we're so concerned about, taking care of animals and all this, but mice, we just don't, we just destroy them.
Oof.
That's a big
Mice and rats.
Yeah, we just completely destroy these guys.
This is your rebuttal to me saying the President of the United States
It's not. It's not a rebuttal.
Lies?
This is not my rebuttal. This is just a thought that I had.
My rebuttal to that is I don't believe it's as I don't agree with his points all the time. I don't think it's a new thing in his respect or even in my lifetime where presidents lied to Congress. Unfortunately.
You should question, no matter the party, you
100%.
should question authority
Everything
all the
they
time.
say.
No,
Every time.
Here's my, okay, if you want to look at us, one of my favorite books is Animal Farm, because it's basically...
Are the mice safe in that book? Probably not. Probably not.
So at what point are we on Animal Farm?
Okay.
I mean, Squealer, one of the corrupt pigs, right, is running around with propaganda, throwing it out there.
Of course.
It twists everything around. We don't know who to believe. That's the point we're at.
And it's even easier and more amplified in today's day and age with our technology.
Who pick up the lies and run with it. You got people who,
Yeah.
I mean, there's problems on both sides. I totally agree with that. But, man, we got to pay attention, people.
My biggest gripe, we'll go with that, on the address to joint session. It's not just this one. It goes back, at least into for sure Obama, I believe even into Bush, if I remember right, but I could be wrong on that. It's just the sheer glazing of it all, how every time he says something, one side has to stand up, cheer and clap, and the other side has to boo the whole time.
Bro.
It's like...
it's almost choreographed.
There's no bipartisanship anymore.
Part of it is choreographed. Yeah,
that's the thing. It's just
we're
a
not
big
that
show.
bad compared to Parliament.
I know. That's what I'm saying. I don't want to get to that level. You see them stand up and scream at each other, and that's how they debate.
Come on, that's what makes social media great. If Parliament went away, social media would be boring.
That's why our society and our Congress is feeding into that, because those 10-second, those 30-second clips, if you just scream for a little bit, you get a lot more views than if you sit there and actually listen.
Yeah,
Like,
I think
I just wanna
Pelosi wins the cake, though, with her just standing up and ripping the speech right behind Trump.
I forgot about that
theater.
back in the day.
Yeah, it's complete theater.
That was, yeah.
For me, that's when it got highlighted of how bad it was
how
getting.
Theatric it is.
Yeah,
that's fair.
Because I mean, there's you want to talk about America being respected at the world stage, right? And everyone will put the blame on our president, no matter who they are, and to base off the party. The other party will always say, "Well, you're making us look like a fool." What makes us look like a fool is stuff like that.
100% is
when our own Speaker of the House goes and does stuff like that right behind him. The theatrics in Congress, it is what it is. I'm sure every government has a little bit of that. But when you're talking about the focus there and in the leadership that should be directly behind them, at the end of the day, supporting them in some capacity, doing stuff like that, that's way too far. Yeah. And I'm sure there's something, I'm not picking on the Democrats by that, I'm picking on Nancy Pelosi. Mm-hmm. There's probably something that a Republican has done right behind the president at the time. That's a place where it should be respected still.
Mm-hmm. Undoubtedly. I think in those halls, that's it. We've lived in a sense of decorum for centuries, and obviously it's been tested at times, and there's been shouting matches in Congress.
Which is good.
A guy got half beat to death with a cane.
That
in the
is not good,
yeah,
to be fair.
But it's happened, and it's not like it's an unforeseen thing. However, the general sense of decorum that the American Congress has possessed throughout its history is nowhere near to what it is today.
Yeah.
Man, you kind of ruined my hopes. Like, we've had fist fights down in the North Dakota legislature years and years ago.
I know. We don't.
I mean, fist fights might be too far, but I when there's intense discussion, I think that's good. Even if that does turn into a shouting match.
Exactly.
When you're and I don't know all the stuff that the Republican Party has done. Okay, so we're just talking about what's now, and somebody will remind us of what the Republican Party did last 2 years ago or 4 years ago or whenever, right? But the signs and all that stuff, it isn't great. I'm sure the Republican Party has done that or something similar.
They both have. That's the thing,
right? Yeah, that part. But it seems like the antics have been
amplified.
Well, I don't know. I won't say what I'm thinking. I'll just move on. We'll save that for about 10 minutes from now.
I want to see some sanity.
Good luck.
I'm so sick of this two-party crap. Yeah. I don't know what else to call it without. Like, you don't have the bleep button.
I know, right?
So he'll tone it to that for you. But no, you're right though. It would be nice to see a sense of bipartisanship and a goal of unity to at least make some progress. But I don't foresee it in the next couple of years. We'll see how it plays out, though. I could be wrong. I hope I am.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's been a good chat. We kind of went to areas we didn't know we were going to go to today.
And we went all over. We went from Dunseith, City Council, State, and National. This was
almost
a full one for an hour.
This is almost like a... Never mind. I got a lot of stuff I could say, and I'm just being good over here. Don't want to make any enemies.
Leif, any final takes before we head out here?
No, I'll just swear after we're off air.
I love it. All right.
Sounds good. With that, we will hurry up and end this show so we don't have any things leak out on air. Thank you for watching this episode of Indie Talk. 8 a.m. every Thursday. Thanks for tuning in. Be sure to like and subscribe. Get those notifications when we go live. You have a great rest of your day.